I wanted to actually share with you an image of a map of South Asia. One could, at one level, call an upside down map of South Asia. Now, what is interesting, of course, is that it is not upside down. We all know that the earth is round and north is actually oriented differently at different times. So, there's nothing upside down about this map. It was produced by a journal based in Nepal called Himal South. It's now called Himal South Asian. And the editors who produced this map said that they wanted to reorient ourselves towards people than to nation states and to turn the region downside up. Now, what is interesting is that it's not simply a reaction to the map, it's not simply oh, this is upside down, how interesting. It's usually there's a sense of indignation on the part of Indians when they see this, that the image of India, which is produced in a particular way, let's say as Bharat Mata. With the head as Kashmir, we've all seen images of India like this, right? With Bharat Mata's head is Kashmir and her arms are Gujarat and Bengal, and so there's a very clear human image. The map is kind of anthropomorphized into a human face, into a human body, and when you turn it upside down, that image is no longer available to you. So there's a sense of indignation that a little nation like Nepal, and especially when you say where it comes from, there's a sense of indignation that a little nation like Nepal, who India could swallow up in one gulp, dares to turn India upside down, right? So the reactions to this map are all that we need to recognize that nation states are imagined. So there's a way in which the nation is produced in that kind of natural closed way, so that anyone who says, well, you know, we are nation states too, it seems so obvious that of course they're traitors. But in fact, there are large parts of India which have had histories independent of the Indian nation state, which have had histories with the region. The whole of the Northeast is almost all of the Northeast is a border with other regions, other kinds of ethnic groups. There are different histories with British colonialism. Not everybody was negotiating through the Congress with British colonialism. So you have different histories, but all of these, and different histories, different identities, completely heterogeneous pasts and presents, they all have to be dragged into the space and homogenized into the nation. So that's one kind of thing that is called anti-national. One kind of political statement. Another kind of political anti-national statement, of course, is when you challenge dominant interests. When you say that the nuclear plant at Kudangulam is ecologically unsustainable, it will have long-term ecological consequences, it destroys our livelihoods, and so on. Those kinds of things are treated as anti-national statements because they are opposing dominant interests. One of the laws that is used often to target people called anti-national is the sedition law, which is of course unchanged since the times of the British, and maybe that's what we mean when we say we are an ancient civilization, because basically so many of our laws are unchanged from the time of the British. And the anti-sedition is defined as exciting disaffection towards the lawfully elected government of a country, of this country. Now this is interesting because disaffection is lack of affection. So affection, love for the nation state has to be apparently a permanent state of being. The nation state has to do nothing to deserve it. It appears that at any point, if exciting disaffection towards the state is in and of itself a crime, then clearly the nation state is always deserving of affection. And any attempt to, so this sounds alarmingly like a deeply patriarchal family, where the father and the patriarchal line are deserving of affection simply because of the biological accident that you were born to them, and simply because of the biological or some kind of universal accident that you were born on this landmass and not some other landmass, and at this time of history and not at some other time of history, you could have lived here in the Vedic period and not been an Indian. So that accident of history has to forevermore determine whom you will love and whom you will be bound by and whose rules you have to obey. Now, the family is not a democratic institution, I think that's very clear, but is the nation state not claiming to be a democratic institution? So the crime of sedition is ridiculous. In a modern democracy, it has no place. It has actually been removed from the statute books of many countries, all of which had inherited it from the colonial government. But for some reason, we are very, very proud and fond of our colonial laws, like Section 377 and the sedition law, many such other laws. So, so sedition is often invoked to punish anti-nationals, but sometimes you don't even need the law to punish anti-nationals. So you would have, for example, people like Salman being arrested for not standing up when the national anthem is being played in a theatre.
Not because of the assholes. थप्पड़ मारता मैं वापस करोगे एंकर को करोगे थप्पड़ मारता मैं
The symbols of nationhood at one time, historical moment, when in that moment of anti-imperialism, they had a positive charge. When in the anti-imperialist moment, there was a potential for these symbols to suggest subversiveness and justice and equality and so on. That moment has passed, completely passed. It is no longer, then these symbols are no longer mobilized for those kinds of purposes. They are mobilized to reinforce elite interests and dominant interests. So there was this wonderful comedian called Jaspal Bhatti who died an untimely death, but he once said that the slogan, our motto is no longer Jhanda Uncha Rahe Hamara, but Sensex Uncha Rahe Hamara. So supposing one feels that this Jhanda is meaningless in a country which treats the Sensex as something something to be proud of when it rises, clearly there's something wrong with nationalism. So I guess we could either say that there are hundreds and thousands of us who are anti-national and proud of it because we feel we have more in common globally with other interests, with other people who share our vision of justice and equality. So I have much more in common with Pakistani peace activists than with the Indian Hindu right. I have nothing in common with the Indian Hindu right and I have everything in common with Pakistani peace activists. So clearly nation states don't define and cannot define who we are and what we are. And as long as we claim to be democracies, the idea, we have to recognize that the idea of anti-national is only deployed to silence dissent and to promote the interests of elites.